factor. So cholesterol alone is not the only part that can cause heart disease, but that along with other risk factors can enhance a person's risk. And so diabetes is another risk factor for heart disease because that high blood sugar can damage the blood vessels and nerves that supply the heart. And so did you know that adults with diabetes are twice as likely to have heart disease as stroke compared to the other population? Diabetes can raise our LDL, which I talk about, the bad cholesterol, and raise our triglycerides, which is also bad for your heart. Type 2 diabetes is the most common type in older adults. And so there's two types of diabetes. There's type 1 that happens in adolescents and kids. And this is when your body's not producing enough insulin to lower the blood sugar. Type 2 is more common in adults. And this is when your body is producing insulin, but it's resistant, it's not responding. So therefore, the insulin's not effective in lowering your blood sugars. And so some of the risk factors include for type 2 diabetes, being over 45 years of age, being overweight, certain ethnicities such as African American, Hispanic, American Indian, and Alaska Natives, being in the pre-diabetes range, being physically active less than 3 times a week. And so some of the common symptoms of diabetes are increased thirst, urination, and then wounds that heal slowly. So then going to diabetes screening. So what we commonly use in a doctor's office is something called an A1C. And so an A1C measures the average blood sugar at 3 months intervals. So it's recommended that all adults 65 or older get a baseline A1C just to make sure that they're not at risk for diabetes or have diabetes. And so when to get an A1C test. So if A1C is normal and a person has risk factors and they are over 45, it's recommended to repeat every 3 years. For pre-diabetes, it varies, but doctors commonly do it every 1 to 2 years. And then if you have diabetes, it's recommended to repeat your A1C every 3 months. And so when they take an A1C, they'll take a little prick on your finger and then they'll measure the A1C. So for ranges, so normal A1C is less than 5.7. Pre-diabetes is 5.7 to 6.4, and then diabetes is 6.5 and up. So smoking is another risk factor for heart disease. So 1 out of 5 smoke-related deaths are caused by heart disease. You could also get impacted if you're near somebody that smokes. 34,000 non-smokers die from heart disease each year from exposure to something called secondhand smoke. And so this is when you're around smoke, but you're not actually smoking. So these cigarettes contain 7,000 harmful chemicals that can cause damage. And so there are many ways that smoking can damage the body. It can raise the triglycerides, lower the HDL. It can make blood very sticky. And so when blood is sticky, it can't get through the blood vessels and it's more likely to clot. It can damage cells that line the blood vessels. And so when you have damage anywhere in the body, that can cause an immune response. And so the immune response then can cause further damage. It increases buildup of plaque in the blood vessels, which I mentioned earlier. It causes thickening and narrowing of those blood vessels. Another risk factor is obesity. So obesity affects more than 40% of the population. And so how obesity can contribute to heart disease is that the excess fat causes inflammation. And so that excess inflammation causes the body to not use insulin efficiently. And so when a body doesn't use insulin efficiently, this can cause something called metabolic syndrome. And so metabolic syndrome is basically when there's a disrupted metabolic response in your body in response to insulin. And so then you would have high blood lipids, hypertension, high blood sugar, and then you'll have low HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol. And one of the common risk factors in obesity is when you have increased fat in the abdominal area. And so that causes a higher risk of insulin resistance. Other ways that obesity can affect the heart is that it causes the heart to enlarge. And so when you have that excess fat in your body, your blood vessels will get narrow. And so then your heart will have to pump extra harder to get the blood through the blood vessels. And so then it would enlarge. And so then it also could have more strain, leading to irregular heartbeat, commonly atrial fibrillation. So there's also food that increases cardiovascular risk. So there's saturated fats that increase LDL levels. And so some sources include bacon, red meat, butter, fried foods, and potato chips. Also, sugary foods can increase cardiovascular risk, including soda. And then any food with white flour, any baked goods like cookies, cakes, muffins, cupcakes, and then some called refrying grains. They quickly convert to sugar, so they raise the sugar levels in your body, which can be a risk factor for diabetes. And so those include any type of white rice, bread, pasta. Salty foods also increase cardiovascular risk. And so they include like hot dogs, sausage, lunch meat, frozen foods, canned foods, French fries, and then alcohol. So one of the big problems in the US is something called food deserts. And so a food desert is an area in the US with a limited amount of access to affordable, nutritious food. And so those are in a lot of places in the US. And so this is a common problem in which people have access to healthy food. And so what makes a neighborhood qualify as a food desert? First is low number of grocery stores. Second is the great distance between grocery stores. Third is lack of transport to grocery stores. Fourth is low-income residents who cannot afford food options. And so for statistics, 25.3 million Americans live in low-income areas. 2.3 of the 25.3 million do not own or have reliable access to vehicles. And so when this is the case, these residents are only limited to delis, bodegas, and the fast food restaurants. And so these places tend to not have the healthiest food. And so food deserts disproportionately affect minority groups like African Americans and Latinos and American Indians. So for prevention. So here are some just quick healthy cooking techniques that you could do at your house. They're simple and easy. Avoid cooking at high temperatures because your food is then exposed to more of those chemicals that comes with cooking, and that can be toxic. Avoid frying foods because frying foods is what raises a high cardiovascular risk by raising your LDL lipids. Use low-fat cooking methods such as boiling and steaming. So boiling and steaming is really a healthy way to cook. And then avoid cooking meat or fish to well done or brown because it exposes those foods to those toxic chemicals and more of those chemicals that come with cooking. So a healthy diet composes of the fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, whole grains, fat-free skim or low-fat dairy, protein-rich foods, and then oils and foods with monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. And so I'll explain these more in depth in the next few slides. So whole grains. Whole grains consist of plain oatmeal, brown rice, whole grain bread, and whole grain tortillas. So anything that's whole grain is good for you. Protein-rich foods. So protein-rich foods consist of fish. And so fish is actually really good for you because it has something called omega-3 fatty acids. And so omega-3 fatty acids actually lower your triglyceride levels. And so when you have high triglyceride levels, it increases your risk of heart disease. And so some of the common fish that's good for you is salmon, tuna, trout. And also lean meats are also good for you. So the 95% lean ground beef or pork tenderloin. Skinless chicken or turkey is also good for you. And then other sources of protein include eggs. And then for our vegetarians out here, you have some nuts, seeds, soy products, which also are protein rich. And then legumes such as kidney beans, lentils, chickpeas, peas, black-eyed peas, and lima beans. So some examples of oils and foods with monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, which are commonly in cooking oils. So some of the best types of cooking oils to use are canola, corn, olive oil, safflower, sesame oil, and soybean oils. Avocados, tofu are also good, and then salmon or trout also has these healthy fats. And so salmon is really good for your heart. So here are some grocery shopping tips. So the American Heart Association has a list of foods that meet the Heart Check certification program. And so here's the link. And so I also have a Word document with all the links from my slides. And so this is in the Word document. It has all the foods that meet this Heart Check certification program. And also when you go to grocery stores, you can find a Heart Check mark on a label, any like boxes or any packages of the food. And so this is what it looks like. And so anytime food has this on its package, that means it's heart healthy. So another resource is that the DC Department of Aging and Community Living has many dining sites for seniors, over 40, for seniors to get access to healthy food. And so all the dining sites are in the link right here. That's also could be provided if you would like. The DC Department of Aging and Community Living can deliver prepared foods for adults 60 or over who are disabled or homebound and unable to leave their home. So there's DC Department of Aging and Community Living is very supportive in seniors getting access to healthy food. Grocery Plus is another program. And so seniors could receive $50 worth of farmers market checks for fresh fruits, vegetables, herbs, and local honey. And so you can get fresh produce from the East Capitol Walk-in Center. During the summer, Grocery Plus gives seniors farmers market vouchers that can be used for produce at participating farmers markets. You can apply, and applications are produced at their distribution site. Here's the address to the site, and more information in the link below. There's also some grocery stores that provide discounts for seniors so that they can get access to healthy food. First is Harris Teeter. And so every Thursday, seniors 60 or older can get a 5% discount. Every Monday and Thursday at 6 a.m., there's in-store shopping for seniors only. So for people who don't like to be in crowds, wait in long lines, then 6 to 8 a.m. every Monday and Thursday, the grocery shop is only for seniors. The first Wednesday of each month, Albertsons offers a 10% discount for seniors 55 and older. So exercising is another prevention that benefits the heart. And so exercise benefits the heart in many ways. Lowers blood pressure by slowing heart rate, lessens risk of diabetes, maintains healthy body weight, reduces stress hormones that put a burden on the heart, strengthen heart muscles, increase HDL, and helps relieve stress. So for exercising, it's recommended that adults do moderate intensity exercise at least 150 minutes per week. And so I'm gonna go into detail each types of exercise in the next few slides. So one way is do 30 minutes per day for 5 days. Another recommendation is 75 minutes or vigorous exercise per week. So you can either do 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or just 75 minutes of vigorous exercise. Either way counts. You should do at least 2 days per week of activities that strengthen muscles. And also, activities that improve balance 3 days per week. So the first type of exercise is moderate intensity, and this is what's recommended 150 minutes per week, or for 5 days, 30 minutes per day. And so some examples include water aerobics, bike riding, dancing for anybody who likes to dance, double tennis, hiking, simply pushing a lawnmower or brisk walking, which are the two most simple exercises. Examples of vigorous intensity exercises include running, hiking or biking up a hill, singles tennis, martial arts, and aerobics. Some muscle strength training activities include something simple like carrying heavy shopping bags, yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, push-ups, sit-ups, heavy gardening with digging and shoveling, and then some resistance band exercises. Some balance exercises include sideways walking, simple grapevine, which you could do 5 cross steps forward and back, heel to toe walk, try to aim for like back and forth for 4 to 8 consecutive steps, do a 1 leg stand, try for at least 10 seconds, and then go as however long that you can, do a step up. So if you have any steps, you could just step up and do at least 5 steps with each leg. So this website has more details in which you can access the link if you would like. Another big resource is that the YMCA actually has a Fit and Well program for seniors. And so this gym caters to the needs of more than 100,000 seniors in DC, offers 119 land and 26 aquatic classes in all 8 wards of DC. They also offer health and lifestyle assessments, and they're all free of charge. And so more information, registrations in a link below, which can be provided. The Hayes Senior Wellness Center has different programs for seniors and senior wellness, such as balance classes, walking classes, Tai Chi classes, line dancing, and cardio boxing. There's also a program called the Silver Sneakers program, which seniors 65 plus with Medicare Advantage or Medigap can get a free fitness membership. And so membership includes access to many different things, such as recreational centers, churches, senior communities, and other neighborhood locations. The University of District of Columbia has something called the Bodywise Health and Fitness Program, which is basically a free health program to promote health, wellness, and fitness for DC residents 60 years of age and above. And it consists of many different activities that seniors could do, such as water aerobics, yoga, low impact aerobics, movement and chair exercises. And the instructors are very well trained. You can apply to this program through the link. So there's also some simple home exercise that you could do. And so one includes a sit and stand. So you aim for 2 to 3 sets of 10 daily, the tandem stands. And so I could demonstrate some of these exercises if you all would like, which basically try to hold for at least 3 seconds. The farmer's walk, recommended for 30 seconds. And so the details and exercise are linked below. And so these are some exercises you could do just at the comfort of your own home. If you don't feel like going to the gym or taking a walk, it's too rainy or snowy or the weather is too bad, you just do these at home, which are beneficial. So smoking cessation is another way to prevent the development of heart disease. And so smoking causes damage to the heart and blood vessels, which, and so damage to the heart and blood vessels from smoking can be repaired quickly for smokers who quit. And so heart attack risk dropped dramatically within a year of quitting smoking. And then another fact is that within 5 years, most smokers cut their risk of stroke to nearly that of a non-smoker. So smoking cessation dramatically reduces the risk of heart disease. And so it's important. So one of the resources for smoking cessation is the DC Quit line. And so here's the number. And so anytime you can call or text this number, they can give you free resources and help that's available. Breathe DC is another program. And so they offer free online smoking cessation classes, 4 sessions of weekly classes and free virtual session classes via Zoom. And there's registration and more information link. So your primary care can also help you quit. And so there's many ways. So they can create a thorough plan with you, and they can create some follow-up appointments to make sure. So they can create a plan including a quit date. They could also recommend that you would clean out your house, avoid going to the store where you like to buy cigarettes, and just find different ways to help you quit. And so they can create some follow-up appointments to make sure that the resources that they give you are working, that the plan is helping you. So the primary care is a good resource. And so there's also many medications that can help too, such as nicotine patches and gum. This medication called bupropion and varicillin are also good for smoking cessation. So there's also smoking treatment and recovery program at MedStar. And so this is where they have a knowledgeable clinical team that will help a client understand smoking history and goals. And so appointments can be either in person, telehealth, or phone. They have some behavioral counseling by phone at no charge. And then most insurances and Medicare can cover this treatment. Meditation is also very beneficial to cardiovascular health because of 2 main reasons: reduce stress and improve your sleep habits. So there's some simple home meditation techniques that you could do. First is something called a stimulating breath, which is also called a bellows breath. This is where you sit in the chair, you exhale, you inhale rapidly for 3 cycles per second, but try not to do any more than 15 seconds. Another technique is called relaxation breathing, which is 4-7-8 technique. So you sit in place, have the tongue tip against the back of your teeth, inhale through the nose to a count of 4, hold breath for 7 seconds, exhale through the mouth for a count of 8 seconds, and you can do the cycle 3 to 4 times. And so these can help relieve stress and make you relaxed. Some more simple techniques is called the body scan technique. And so this is where you lay down, you close your eyes, you start with your feet, work your way up the body, and you pay attention to any painful or uncomfortable sensations, starting with your feet. And so anytime you have this sensation, you take deep breaths. And this is supposed to make you feel relaxed. The other technique, and this one actually helps with sleep, is called the blackboard technique. This is where you close your eyes, you imagine taking a chalk and writing down 100. You completely erase that number, then you write down 99, and you go all the way to 0. And so this is supposed to help with sleep. You would write 99, erase it, then go to 98, and you still keep going, and make sure you erase very slowly and imagine erasing the whole number. And so this would help with sleep and help exercise your mind. Lastly, another good simple home meditation technique is called diaphragmatic breathing. So you lay on the back with your head supported by the pillow, bend your knees, place one hand on chest, another on your stomach, and then you breathe in deeply through the nose and you feel the hand on the stomach rising. And then you allow the muscles to tense and tighten as you exhale. And so you practice breathing for 5 to 10 minutes. You could do this 3 to 4 times daily to feel relaxed. So there's also some meditation classes that you could go to. One is called a Kandapa Meditation Center in DC. And so they have online and in-person meditation classes that are at low cost. They are $6 for seniors. There's also some free meditation podcasts. There's the meditation podcast, and then there's guided meditation by this lady called Tara Branch. So here are some resources for patients and families of people with heart disease. First is the Mental Health Hearts program. which is basically a peer support program for patients with heart disease, caregivers, and families. There's also a MedStar Cardiac Heart Talk, which is a cardiac support group that offers people affected by cardiac illness a space to share, learn, and connect. And so you can call this number to learn. And then there's also the Capital Care and Grief Support Group, which provides some grief counseling for people and families with heart disease. So that concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Naja, thank you so very much for such a thoughtful presentation. Your resources are wonderful. We have about 15 minutes or so for questions. And so at this time, I'd like to invite our audience to ask questions. And I'm going to kick us off, if it's okay with you, Naja.
Okay.
Thank you. You spoke to salt, and that was a particular concern to me. And I wanted to know, when it comes to salt, were you referring to the salt we might add to our foods, or salt or foods that are salty?
So for salt, it's basically just in general, any salty foods are salt that you add to foods. So yeah, commonly salty stuff with like French fries, potato chips, frozen foods, because they usually use salt to make sure that the food lasts a long time, and also can. So anything that's left out for a long time, they tend to put salt as a preservative. And so that's not good for you. So it's always good to have something fresh to reduce the amount of salt.
Okay, thank you. And that's a perfect segue, because when you also spoke to canned vegetables, and many of us consume canned vegetables because of cost. Sometimes fresher vegetables are very expensive. So when we are buying our canned fruits, vegetables, or whatever we might buy in a can, what should we look to buy? What should we buy?
So you're asking if you have fruits or vegetables that's in the can, what should you look to buy?
Yes.
So I would try to avoid like canned foods like altogether. I would try to like aim to go more into like the fresh food section. But I know like maybe not everybody may have access to like a refrigerator. And so I would try to like minimize the amount of canned stuff.
Okay, thank you for that. And then also my next question is, when it comes to a heart healthy diet, can I ask you to please speak to the importance of water consumption, and how much water should we consume daily?
So yeah, so water consumption. So water is good for you because it cleans out your body and cleans out like all the bad stuff. And so it's recommended to try to aim for at least 4 bottles of water a day.
Okay, and is that 16 ounces, 12 ounces? And should we look toward getting filtered, sparkling, tap water? Does it matter our water source?
So water bottles and filtered water is actually the best, because tap water tends to have like those chemicals, and those chemicals keep the water clean. And so those can be harmful to your body. And so it's best to get bottled water because it's geared towards drinking. So it doesn't have all those chemicals that would be in tap water.
And we do have some questions in the chat, but I'm going to sneak in just 2 questions if you don't mind. And then when you spoke to tobacco, does that include all forms of tobacco, including medicinal marijuana that some older adults use to stave off pain?
So for tobacco, usually it's cigarettes that can like increase the risk. But tobacco in all forms is bad.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have some great questions here in the chat, and I want to share them with everyone. So it speaks to consuming nuts. And the question reads, how much of these healthy foods should I consume? While nuts are really delicious, they're fattening. As it further says, I also love sardines and tuna. Do I have to buy albacore tuna?
Albacore tuna. I never heard of that. So for nuts, I know that they can like be very fattening. So there's also like other ways to get protein too. So don't try to rely on nuts a lot. Also like beans are good for you. And other ones are like legumes and eggs. So yeah.
Okay. And then to build on that, the next question speaks to egg consumption. Eggs, too many eggs, whole eggs are not good for cholesterol. Can you speak to the number of eggs I should consume during the week?
Yes. So for eggs, I wouldn't consume like too many eggs. It all like depends. So I would say maybe like 2 eggs 3 times a week or 1 egg, but too much of anything is bad for you in general. So try to like balance when you eat, try to balance eating different things.
Okay, thank you. And the next question reads, are lipid tests covered by private insurance, Medicare and Medicaid?
Yes, they should be because it's a basic screening that's recommended for all patients.
Okay, all right, thank you. Our next question in the chat reads, can sauna blankets lower blood pressure as advertised?
I don't know that answer. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And our next question, it reads, is silver sneakers available to everyone nationwide?
No. So for silver sneakers, it depends on your insurance, which could cover it. But a lot of Medicare and Medigap insurances can cover it, which is common. And it also like depends on what part of the insurance that you have.
Okay. Thank you. Our next question asks, does the YMCA cater to older adults nationwide?
So nationwide, yes, it should.
Okay. And then how would we go about finding out? Can you give us some guidance on how we would go about finding out if we're able to participate in any YMCA physical activities? Should we call? Can we get that information online?
Yes. So, yep, I provided a link on the slide. It's also, I have a document with all the links from the slides, and that link is in there. And so there's a contact information in the link.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. We'll be sure to share that with our audience members. And then the next question builds on that, and it asks, do other universities nationwide, I know you referenced UDC, do other universities around the country offer exercise programs for older adults at nominal cost?
There are some. So many universities are participating more in older health.
Okay. And then we have a next question. Where can we find a source for places to exercise at low cost, like the ones you mentioned for Washington, D.C.? Many of our audience members aren't from this area, Washington, D.C. area. And the question is asking about resources, but I think those resources are mentioned in your PowerPoint.
So you can find these resources. So every like state has like a subsection for like the Department of Aging, and so they normally have the resources for elderly people.
Okay, thank you. Another question reads, the cost of seafood can be very expensive. Do you have any alternatives to seafood that you can recommend?
Yeah, so for seafood, it's not like the only source of like protein. It's chicken and like other sources of protein that you could use, but it's one source, but it's not the only. So yeah.
And Najee, when you speak to chicken, is that chicken breast or what other part of the chicken?
So it could be any part of chicken as long as it's skinless.
long as it's skinless and not fried.
Yes, as long as it's not fried.
Okay. And again, your recommendation is baking, stewing, or maybe, can you give a little guidance on air frying and grilling?
So yeah, grilling. So I wouldn't recommend grilling, because grilling, it exposes the chicken to all those chemicals that they could get exposed to when cooking.
Okay. And then air frying?
So air frying, I'll look more into that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Our next question in the chat, and we welcome our audience to please continue to ask these wonderful questions. So the next question reads, so are canned vegetables and frozen vegetables considered to increase the risk for cardiovascular disease?
Yes, because they tend to have the high salt content. And so anytime you have something that sits out for a long time, like in a grocery store, that's not fresh, they tend to add salt as a preservative to make sure it doesn't go bad. But that salt can impact your heart in a negative way.
Okay. And even washing that salt off, does that make a difference? Or we should just steer clear as best we can from canned and frozen vegetables? And that would be the guidance.
Yeah, so try to stay clear as best as you can. But if it's hard to, because I know sometimes it's hard for us to have time to cook, we all have busy lives. Then yeah, try to like wash it out with water, because that would wash some of that salt off. Okay. And that can help.
Okay, thank you. And then the next question reads, is the Grocery Plus program a national service?
Grocery Plus, I believe so.
Okay. And we would be able to contact anyone, regardless of where they live. We would be able to contact the DC Department of Aging to find out more about national grocery programs. Is that correct?
Okay, so yeah, so when I looked into this grocery program, it actually has like a program for elderly to get access to healthy food. Grocery Plus is a branch of DC, but there's different names of programs in different parts of the state that can help elderly population get access to healthier food. Okay,
thank you very much. And then there was another question that I'm going to sneak in. Something that was interesting to me is you spoke to limiting soda consumption. What is your guidance on 0-calorie or diet sodas?
So zero calorie sodas are better than regular sodas because they have the low blood sugar.
Okay, zero calorie is better than diet sodas. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. And then another question I'm going to sneak in is, can I ask you to speak to maybe some chair exercises that someone who is relegated to seating, some chair exercises that they might consider?
Yeah, so for chair exercises, it's different simple ones. You could do exercises where you like just move your arms and just like move your legs. There's also like the biking that you could do. And so, yeah, okay. But I'll look more into that for you. Okay,
thank you. And it looks like we have a question about red wine. And our question reads, I was told the consumption of red wine is good for your health in moderation. Do you agree?
So yeah, alcohol consumption in general is good in moderation, but too much is bad.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, what is too much? Is a glass of wine okay? 2 glasses too much? What is moderation?
So actually for seniors 65 and up, it's recommended to drink no more than 1 drink per day.
7 days a week per day?
Yes, no more than 1 drink.
And then the other water, or it should be water. Okay. All right. And then do you have any guidance there on caffeine?
So yeah, so caffeine also can raise your heart rate and thus raise your blood pressure. So drink no more than 1 cup per day.
Well, and does that matter regular or decaf?
So the caffeine in the coffee is actually what causes the elevated heart rate. And so when you have decaf, then it's just basically regular coffee, but without that caffeine. So the decaf is actually better for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And then Naja, if I can I ask you to speak to herbs and supplements? Is there any correlation, good, bad, or indifferent, with consuming fresh herbs and taking supplements when it comes to maintaining a healthy heart?
Yep. So herbs and supplements will not provide any harm. They're good for you.
Okay. Any herbs, fresh herbs that we might look into, garlic, onions, anything like such that can help better and strengthen our heart?
So for herbs, I'll look more into that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. And then we welcome our audience to ask questions. Okay. Okay, we have another question here, and thank you very much. It reads, I've been told according to your weight determines your alcoholic beverage consumption. Myth, true or false?
That's false. It's dependent on age.
Oh.
Age and sex, and so it varies.
Okay. And if you don't mind, can I ask you just to go into that a little bit? I think you'd mentioned individuals 65 and over in terms of beverage consumption. And then when it comes to men or women,
Yep.
are men able to consume more because of their body weight and age? Or can you just spell that out a little bit for us?
Yes. So under 65 for men, they drink no more than 2 drinks a day. For women, it's only 1 drink under 65, but over 65, that's when sex doesn't matter. So for both sexes, it's only recommended to drink no more than 1 drink per day.
Okay. All right. And then it looks like we have just a few more minutes, Naja. So I'm going to ask you to give us some guidance as we approach the holidays and gathering with our families and all the delicious food that's in front of us. What do we do around this time of year to stay active, eat nutritiously, and then how do we say no to all of those delicious, sugary, salty foods in front of us?
Yeah. So I might speak into that. So I know every now and then we all want to enjoy like a cookie or a cupcake, but just don't eat those too much. Like maybe once or twice a week is reasonable. In terms of exercise, I know it gets like really cold outside. So I know like these simple home exercises will be like more useful, and also joining gyms like the YMCA. I know stuff like brisk walking and biking wouldn't be useful because of the cold. But yeah, I try to focus more on those exercises you could do indoor.
Perfect segue. We have a question in the chat that asks, is walking the stairs considered exercise?
Yes.
Okay. And if so, how many times do we have to go up and down the stairs to get our heart pumping and our blood moving? Heart moving and blood pumping.
So I would try aim for 5 times.
Wow. And how many stairs is that?
So 5 times, or maybe a set of like 5 steps. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then we have one more question in the chat, and it reads, I love salmon. Is it healthier to remove the skin?
Yes, because the skin can have like the fat from the salmon. And so really it's the meat that provides those nutrients, like the omega-3.
Okay. And again, with our fish, it's best to steam it or broil it or something, and to cook it in those oils that you recommended for us, correct?
Yes.
Okay. No butter, those oils. Okay.
Yes, cut out some butter. Yeah.
All right. And then we just have time for one more question. If we don't get to your question this afternoon, Naja has agreed to answer your question, and we will get answer your questions, and we will get those answers to you as soon as possible. Our last question reads, which is better? That's a great question because I never know. Which is better, wild or farm-raised seafood?
Yeah, so seafood, I would say wild, because when something is farm raised, they tend to add like extra stuff to the food. But when it's wild, then it's pure. But I know it could be harder. Not all of us like to go fishing. So
Okay. Now, and I'm going to just sneak this in. Is it an assumption, or do we have to go to special grocery stores to get wild caught seafood?
yeah. So yeah, grocery stores. So usually like the fresh food stores have those, like organic ones like Whole Foods. They have like a section with wild caught seafood. So usually it's normally the organic ones like Whole Foods, Aldi's has fresh food,
Okay.
farmers markets.
Well, thank you very much. Wow, we are exactly at 2:00. Naja, I want to thank you very much for joining us. Your presentation is really thoughtful and much to put into play for the holidays and the new year. Thank you. We hope you will consider joining us again in the new year. To our audience, thank you very much for joining us today and throughout the year. We appreciate you. And many thanks to Amgen for sponsoring this webinar today. Thank you and happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you, you too as well.
Thank you.